Mr. Foster, the ranking member of the Financial Institutions Subcommittee, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and to our witnesses. Mr. Cascaria, Paxos has the ability to block, freeze, and recover fraudulent or mistaken transactions. Could you explain how this works technically, both for hosted and unhosted wallets? You know, for example, could this be used to stop the use of stablecoins for ransomware and other illicit activities?
Thank you for the question. I think this is an important point. And as the issuer of various regulated stablecoins, about 5 of them right now, we have the ability, as the issuer, because we control the smart contract, and this is an important point, we control the smart contract, we are able to decide if an address should be frozen or if funds should be seized.
All right, so for example, if someone's screen locks up with ransomware and it says transfer money into this wallet, you know, this much of one of your stable coins to this wallet, that the person who has that screen can go and contact you and say freeze that wallet and it's done.
We have a process for that, but correct, yes.
Correct, so you have the ability to put a crowbar in, for example, ransomware or other. Now that's, if you could get sort of some technical information sort of at the level of Congress's actual blockchain programmer so I'd be very interested in how that is implemented. You know, how that's obviously you have huge cybersecurity issues on your end because someone gets a hold of the ability to throw that crowbar into your whole payment ecosystem that, you know, could wreck all holders of their asset could be, you know, wiped out. It's also my understanding that the Senate, which has a bipartisan, the Genius Act that was, I guess, introduced yesterday on a bipartisan basis, has a mandate for that. And if you could comment on how that compares to what your practices are and what the pros and cons of putting that mandate. So, I'd appreciate it. I'm not asking you for something, you know, since it was issued yesterday. If you've had a look at it, I'm interested.
I think it would be nice for our staff to come back and
Yeah, that's fine. So for the record, you know, please respond on that. Now, many of you mentioned financial inclusion and low transaction cost as really the desirable things that you're going for. Now, among the G20, India is by far the leader in that. Essentially, 100% of households are banked in India. If you more than 1 billion people, and the only group that's not banked are women whose husbands don't want them to have a bank account, which is not exactly a financial problem. But in India, if you want to give a pauper 3 rupees, you both get out your cell phones, you do your biometric login, you authenticate to your bank account, you transfer 3 rupees, 0 cost, and essentially 100% penetration. Could you explain what the advantages of a blockchain system are over the system that exists for 1 billion people in India in terms of just everything, you know? It's also my understanding that the system in place in India based on bank accounts is not usable for ransomware. It is not usable for $1.5 billion hacks. And I was just wondering if you could contrast that and particularly describe how a blockchain system would have advantages over that system. Yeah, sure.
Is that a question for me?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Sure. I think the main advantage is that, sure.
Well, either one, yeah. Well, Mr. Collison, why don't you have a swing at that one?
I think what India has done with UPI is extremely impressive, and actually we're starting to see similar systems emerge in other countries.
Yeah, they're selling the open source software to giving it to other countries which are adopting it. At which point you'll have 0-cost payment rails across borders, which is another use case for stablecoins.
Today, these systems are not globally interoperable, and I think the most fundamental advantage that stablecoins confer is this global universality and this global ubiquity, and you don't need to wait on a country-by-country basis for them to roll it out, get adoption.
Do you regard that as a feature or a bug? You know, if you're trying to prevent fentanyl payments for fentanyl precursors, it's nice to have a measuring point at the border.
Oh,
I was just wondering if you regard that an absolute cross-border zero surveillance regime is really the endpoint we should head for.
I think global access is a huge advantage, but I think to your prior questions, I think the ability for stablecoin issuers to ensure that proper controls are applied and that system integrity is maintained is also really important.
Mr. Gwynn, during the 2008 financial crisis, how long did it take AAA-rated mortgage-backed security tranches to become toxic assets? And how does that compare to the monthly reporting requirement contemplated in this bill?
Sorry, it took a lot longer than the monthly reporting, but those assets are very different from the reserve assets here. Those were not U.S. Treasuries. Those were CDOs or CDO squared, very illiquid assets.
The gentleman's time's expired.